Hello everyone, this is Will or TubeMix, either will do, and welcome. Now, I feel a lot better, so I will probably be back for this week's edition of Without Having Kicked a Ball. But first, I wanted to talk about the news today that of the schedule changes for BBC Radio 2. So, it was announced that after 6 years, Zoe Ball would be stepping down from the breakfast show. And to be honest, well, it's not really a surprise, is it? She took 6 weeks off in, let's see, it was August and quite a bit of September, wasn't it? And they had Scott Mills sitting in, and Scott will be replacing her. Now, Scott never got Radio 1 breakfast because at the time, there was Chris Moyles and Nick Grimshaw, but Scott will be getting the Radio 2 breakfast show. And so obviously that means a slot opens up in the afternoon, and who gets that? Well, I don't think any of us saw this one coming. Trevor Nelson. Now, Trevor has been on daytimes before because he used to cover for Ken Bruce. But that didn't seem to last very long. Maybe the 40 just didn't suit it, really. And Gary Davis would suit it better. And so that's what they did. So, yeah, Trevor's going to be replacing Scott in that 2 to 4 slot. 2 till 4 slot. So, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I mean, with Rhythm Nation's slot, it means that he doesn't have to play much of the daytime playlist. So I wonder if this show will actually last very long. We'll see. DJ Spoonie. So he currently hosts The Good Groove on Friday nights between 9 and 11. He moves to Monday to Thursday, 10 till midnight, so Trevor's slot. And DJ Spoonie covered for Trevor often on the Rhythm Nation. So, yeah, this slot will suit him very well. And the press release said, so rather than Spoonie starting, a new show effectively, it seems like The Good Groove itself, the show, and maybe the features will be moving to Monday to Thursday. So that will be quite interesting. Because if you listen to The Good Groove, Spoonie has a rewind selector where a guest basically picks their top tracks to go clubbing. Excuse me. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting whether that carries over. And obviously, on The Good Groove, he has 2 mixes. The Good Groove 90s Party Mix and The Good Groove's Deeper Cuts Mix. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether he carries those over. And effectively, if he's transplanting the whole format of that show to Monday to Thursday. So we'll see. Now on Friday nights, replacing Spoonie with The Good Groove is, well, I did not see this coming, but this is really going to be interesting. Sophie Ellis Bextor's Kitchen Disco. So it's currently on Saturdays at 4 a.m. and it's only an hour long. And it's sort of like, those Made for Sounds shows. But this is going to be interesting to see whether it probably won't be live, but it'll be interesting to see whether there is some listener interaction and there's some more features. And that's going to be particularly interesting. Because I do like the show and I do like Sophie, but it is also a bit of a tough listen because, So basically, I'm just trying to think. So say if you play the Bee Gees Jive Talking, and you hear an announcement from Colette Collins, who is the station voice of Radio 2. And you would hear, and you will hear, this is Sophie Ellis Bextor's Kitchen Disco from Radio 2. Then if it's 2 tracks, then to the next track. This is Sophie Ellis Bextor's Kitchen Disco on BBC Sounds. And it's even worse if it's 3 tracks in a row, because you get another announcement telling you what show it is. And yeah, it's not great, really. In fact, it lets the show down, really. I don't mind having the odd occasional announcement, but that suggests to me, because there's such a lack of links, that they're desperately trying to fill it with stuff. So I really hope this new extended 2-hour edition on Friday nights will be a better listen, and I hope, it doesn't have to be live, but I do hope there's some listener interaction, a bit more features, and, if there's listener interaction, then that means there's more links from Sophie. So, yeah, we'll see. It's interesting because, I thought, because on bank holidays, Sophie used to do, live 2-hour kitchen discos. And then they didn't have them, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it's because she's got her own show now and she's settled in and she's got loads of other commitments, obviously. And I thought, oh, Radio 2. And they don't seem to really advertise the show that much. It's not talked about that much. You don't hear many trailers for it, and I thought, well, by putting it at 4 a.m. says they've not got much confidence, has it? But clearly, again, it was another stepping stone. And so, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So, Sophie Ellis Bextor's Kitchen Disco will move from a 1-hour slot on Saturdays at 4 a.m. to Friday nights from 9 to 11. And then, well, I presume Sean Keaveney will be staying with the Rock Show. Now, Zoe Ball is going to be staying with Radio 2. They'll say they'll have more details in due course. So that's going to be interesting because, is it just going to be like documentaries and stand-ins, stand-in work, or is it going to be, is she going to have a new regular weekend slot? I mean, yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting because, so she started on Radio 2 in 2006, and she deputised for other DJs and she presented documentaries. Then in 2008, after Jonathan Ross was suspended due to the, Saxgate stuff, her and Danny Baker were put together to co-host a temporary Saturday morning show. Then in 2009, she got a Saturday morning show, 6 till 8, which is now the slot that Sounds of the 60s holds with Tony Blackburn. And then she left the station, she left her permanent slot, but she kept, depping in for other DJs and still was involved in the station. In fact, later in 2012, her and Richard Bacon presented a special Olympics show. So, yeah, clearly was still involved in the station. And then in 2017, she came back on a permanent basis to replace Dermot O'Leary on Saturday afternoons. Dermot, who replaced Sounds of the 60s, which moved to 6 till 8. So, yeah. And Dermot moved from 8 till 10. So, yeah, obviously she's done Saturday afternoons. She's done early Saturday mornings. Romesh has just started on Saturday mornings, as in the 10 a.m. slot, so it won't be there. So could it be that Leaves of Tarbuck is on a way out? I hope not, because I really enjoy Leaves' show. Having said that, if they were to move Zoe to Saturday evenings, and then Leaves of Tarbuck would move over to Sundays 5 till 7, which is currently Rob Beckett's slot. Then that would be a good option, because I can't help thinking that Leaves are into sounds of the 80s is a bit jarring. Whereas Leaves on a Sunday would actually blend quite well, I think, with the schedule. Some people on the Digital Spy forum I've just seen, thinking, could she maybe be in Elaine Page's slot, maybe presenting a live musical theatre show? God, I mean, it's not impossible, but I don't know. If EP was to leave that slot, I think they'd still keep the show tunes, because show tunes are really popular, especially with the Wicked movie coming out, and musicals are still really, really popular. So I think they'd probably get either Samantha Barks, who has deputised for Elaine before, or Michelle Visage, who, well, she's depped in for Elaine before, and she's already on the station. Or could another thing, we see Michelle Visage leave Radio 2 and Zoe take over that 7 till 9 slot. Which, I suppose that's a possibility. Well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess, won't we? Like I said, it's very interesting. Some really interesting moves here. Some that you could see coming, like Scott getting breakfast. Others, if you said to me Trevor getting weekday afternoons, I would have thought, no, not at all. That's really, really interesting. And will I listen to Scott in the morning? I don't know. I do find him a bit too dull in the afternoons. Because I used to listen to him and Chris Stark on 5 Live. Never used to listen to Radio 1. But, they were good bouncing off each other. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, sorry. They were good bouncing off each other, and I think Scott needs... Well, he needs someone to bounce off with, in my view. So I just found afternoons on Radio 2, since he took over from the late great Steve Wright, just too dull, really. But it'll be interesting to see whether Breakfast keeps the zoo format, like Chris Evans and Zoe have done, or whether it'll be, like, the old Wake Up to Wogan. Although, having said that, Terry did regularly interact with the newsreaders and, of course, had the Janet and John stories, so they were still part of the team, and his producers, Paul Walters and Alan Burlands Boyd, made on-air contributions as well. So, like I said, it's going to be very interesting. And what's going to take over that 4 a.m. slot on Saturdays? Could it be that Radio 2 might want to get Jessie Ware on a regular show? Jessie has stepped in for Joe Wiley. So, and of course she has a podcast, Table Manners, which she hosts with her mum Lenny. So, that'll be interesting to see whether they might get her. I've noticed she's not debbed in for Joe this year. So maybe that's... Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes a sign of people covering is getting them tested to the Radio 2 audience and getting them with a regular show, depending on how well they're received. Or sometimes, actually, a sign of not doing too much cover means that, they're not just going to stay as a stand-in. They're going to have a permanent slot at the station. So we will see. Arna Matronic started with her own series. Then she moved to do stand-in work, and then finally got her own show. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether we may see Jessie Ware maybe do series and her own sort of made for BBC Sounds overnight show, and then maybe if that does happen, then in a few years maybe she'll get a more prominent slot like Sophie has done, a promotion. So yeah, we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. If you want to, feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe to the TubeMix YouTube channel. And I just want to say a big thank you to Sam Taylor and Jordan Erlam for doing such a good job of hosting Without Ever Kicked a Ball. We're going to be recording the next edition tonight, and that's going to be great. I think it's going to be a state of play because, with the international break, there was no Premier League football, was there? So, I think we're going to be doing that. Alright, well, if you want to, feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe to the TubeMix YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.